guys, Jeff with Kayak Contemplations, coming to you not from the water. We're actually coming to you from on dry land for a change. I wanted to cover an important topic, and that is safety with kayaking, kayak fishing, any kind of the paddling sports. And it doesn't matter what time of year it is. And I apologize, there's a truck coming by. It doesn't matter what time of year it is, whether it's the warmest part of the summer or the coldest part of the winter. Certain safety precautions have to be taken into serious consideration. The first thing that I want to talk to everybody about when it comes to safety is knowing the water that you're going on and filing a float plan. A float plan is simple. It's, hey, so-and-so, somebody that you trust, I'm going out fishing, I'm leaving approximately 6 a.m., I'm going to fish this body of water. The areas that I'm predominantly going to be in are these areas, and I plan to be back by 4 o'clock. If I don't call you by 4:30, then you know that something's wrong and you can start raising the red flags. This is just basics. Second to that, and the most critical piece of gear you can have on your boat is a PFD. And I don't care what brand you buy. There's a lot of really good ones out there. I actually plan on upgrading here shortly. This is just a El Cheapo Bass Pro $40, $50 fishing vest. But guys, I don't care if you're in 6 inches of water or 600 feet of water. If you're not wearing a PFD, you're a fool. And you can say what you want. You can say you're the greatest swimmer in the world and all that kind of stuff, and that's all fantastic. But the fact of the matter is, the PFD is there for when you are unable to swim. So that is if you are unconscious, that is if you have a major injury, whatever the case may be. This is the thing that's going to keep you above the water line. Now, some will argue, well, if I'm only fishing in 6 inches of water, it's not going to help me. Why get out of the habit of wearing it? That's just foolish. I've been a firearms instructor for a large part of my life, and one of the things I teach in my courses is if you're going to carry, always carry. And the reason for that is because you don't want to get out of the habit of doing something that is good for you or that can save your life. Getting out of the habit of wearing a PFD is just foolish. It's just foolish. So please get in the habit, use your PFDs, wear your PFDs anytime you're on a vessel, especially one that's got a small gunnel that's not going to save you. You're sitting up high, you have a high chance of rollout. You're not in a boat with sides on it. You're just not. You're sitting on a piece of floating plastic, so be smart. So on top of that, your PFD has pockets, and these pockets are phenomenal for fundamental survival. Okay, and when I say fundamental survival, I'm talking about getting you out of a bad situation and getting you to a position to where you can self-rescue. Okay, most lakes I fish on, the bigger bodies of water, there's houses all around, so there's places for shelter and help and all that kind of mess. However, when I fish a lot of the smaller bodies of water, they're nowhere near civilization in most cases. If you're fishing in, for example, some of the places I go to are in the Talladega National Forest. You're out in the bush. If you get in trouble, it's going to be a while before anybody can get to you, and that's if you have the ability to make a call out. And there's so many areas over there that you can't even make a call out. So be smart. And with that said, I want to go through what's in my PFD today, and I want to go through what's in my my dry bag, and then what I keep in the locker in the boat. So that's what we're going to do. So, PFD. Inside the top pocket of this PFD right here is my emergency whistle. I keep it ever handy and ever present. Thank God I've not had to use it yet. Hope to never need to use it. However, it is a requirement according to the United States Coast Guard to have a signaling device, an audible signaling device on your vessel at all times. So there it is. On top of that, if you're out fishing and you're in the wind, everybody knows the benefits of this, so I won't go into it, but Carmex, lip balm, critical. Next pocket over here, it's empty because I'm using it to film right now. But this is where I keep my cell phone. It's in a dry bag, and that dry bag goes into the front right pocket, my dominant side pocket of my PFD. If I get in a bind, I can reach for it, I can make a call, I can get some help. whether the boat's with me or not. Again, keep in mind, this PFD is on me. I'm wearing it. It's not bungeed down. It's not strapped down. It's on my body. If I fall out of the boat goes left, I go right. I need gear that can get me to the point of self-rescue. So communications, very important. Next, I have a double Ziploc bag. Inside the bag, the first bag anyways, I keep flint and steel. Just an El Cheapo one, doesn't have to be anything fancy. My good one's in my bug out bag. This one still works, still throws a spark, still works fantastic for getting a fire if needed. Inside the smaller bag, I have some tinder. This just happens to be dryer lint. And then also inside the smaller bag, I'm not going to take it out, but I got some wet fire military grade wet fire. You can buy it online, real cheap. Box of it's like $3. That is in a double Ziploc bag, and that is also in that front right big pocket. Now, I'm going to deviate a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about fishing for a second. After all, I love to fish, and that's predominantly why I go out on the water. But Chad Hoover, one of my favorite online fishing personalities, he's got a great TV show. It's available on YouTube. Look him up, Chad Hoover, Kayak bass fishing. Anyways, he came up with this idea. I don't know if he came up with it or he just started talking about it, but I rallied to it as soon as I heard about it. These little bags that your hooks come in when you buy them from the bait store or your weights come in are great. They got like a self-sealing flap on it. And what I do is I take a hook and a lead weight, or a steel weight in this case, no one uses lead anymore, but a steel weight and a hook, and that goes in my bag. And that way I'm prepped ahead of time. I got a number 4 set up here, I got a number 5 wide gap set up here, here's another number 5 wide gap set up here, here's some jig heads that I've got, both a swim jig head as well as just a ball jig head. So these are all ready to go. So if I'm fishing soft plastic and I want to change up what I'm doing, I don't have to dig around in my tackle box back here, which is going to make a ton of noise. I can just simply reach in my pocket, cut my line, tie on the new thing, hook my soft plastic, and I'm back fishing again. So that's critical if you're fishing. In the bottom left-hand big pocket, first aid kit. Simple waterproof first aid kit. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, and hopefully you never need it. But make sure anytime you take anything out of this, replace it immediately. So what I do is I have a 3-phase kit, right? So my main kit is in the house. My secondary kit is in my truck because I'm always in my truck. And my third kit then is going to be either my hiking bag, my bug out bag, my fishing gear, whatever. And the reason for that is anytime I utilize this, as soon as I get back to my truck, I want to go ahead and re-up, so that this is never running low. It always has the same gear in it every single time I go out. To me, that's critical because it allows me to ensure that this gear is always ready to go when I'm out on the water, which is where I'm going to need it most. If my truck goes a day or two, it's not the end of the world. I try not to let it happen, but it's not the end of the world. It's a much bigger kit. There's a lot of junk in there. And then I can always re-up from the house kit. Finally, a blade. This happens to be a cold steel mini tack Tonto. I don't care what kind of blade it is, but here's the thing that I like about it. It's small enough that it fits in this front pocket. It's got a plastic sheath. Don't have to worry about deterioration. It's got a micarta handle, full tang, very lightweight. It's got good gripability. It's got a thick spine. So these are kind of the criteria that I require if I'm going to have a blade for any kind of a self-rescue situation. The thick spine allows me to strike a steel with or a fire starter with. It allows me to do some basic batoning. I'm not going to baton a big tree with it, but it allows me to do some basic batoning. The edge is very sharp. It allows me to cut anything that I need to cut. This is more of a self-defense knife than it is a self-rescue knife. But it's what I have, and so it's what I carry. I'm a big proponent of using what you have. Don't go out and buy stuff just for a particular thing. Now, they make some really cool knives that I'm actually looking at getting that will that actually mount to your PFD. I'm looking at a new PFD that actually has a fixed point to mount a knife. And so when that happens, I can almost assure you I'll be making that switch. And the postman's here, so excuse the background noise. Next, let's talk about your dry kit, right? So in this is just a 10-liter dry bag, a Send dry bag. And look, guys, there's a lot of people at badmouth Bass Pro. I'm not one. I will admit, I bought a Bass Pro Ascend Kayak. I'm happy with it. Would I do it again tomorrow? No, there's better manufacturers that I would buy from that have a better overall product. That said, there are things that Bass Pro sells that are better than most. Their dry bags are fantastic. I've had this thing completely submerged multiple times. Went out and did some testing with it in the summertime. And I'll reshoot those videos for next spring or summer, and we'll put them online so you can see for yourself. But this thing rides at the bow of my boat, and water's constantly coming over the bow of the boat. It's one of the major negatives with this particular style of boat. And my stuff stays dry in it every single time. So great bag, highly recommend it. Inside my dry bag, the first thing I carry, and this gets swapped from gear to gear. I need to buy a couple of extra ones so that I can just keep them with my gear. But what I have here is I have a Sawyer water filtration kit. It's nice and small. They actually make a smaller one now, which I'll probably look to switch to because it's a little bulky. Comes with a little bag, you can fill it up, filter the water, and you can drink right from the water filter itself. So you're not having to carry a bunch of extra gear around. I always carry water bottles on board. But if I ever am somewhere deep and have a major catastrophic injury, this will allow me to purify water moving forward. I have additional tinder. This is wood shavings and cotton balls that have been soaked in Vaseline. Highly recommend. And you can carry those. I just use a medicine bottle to carry those in. A dry towel. I'm on a boat. If I go over, everything gets wet. Get caught in a major rainstorm, I'm wet, it's cold, got to worry about hypothermia. This will allow me to dry off. And tarp, just a basic tarp. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. This is a tarp that I use for when I hammock camp. I like it. It's not the greatest tarp out there, but it was cheap, it's inexpensive, it keeps the water off you. I think this was $15. I get them at Bass Pro. They come in a small bag. They're great. They're not super long, but if you're just trying to get an emergency shelter, can't beat it. Can't beat it. Frog togs, tops and bottoms. Always want to make sure I have rain gear on board, especially if I'm on a boat. Never know what's going to happen when you're on a boat. Battery charger. I keep this up. I up it before I go out on the water. Any trip I go on, night before I plug that in, make sure it's ready to go. Duct tape. Don't ever leave home without it. To me, it's critical. I carry some extra medicine in here. It just happens to be ibuprofen. Again, if you get injured, sore, pulled muscle, whatever, you're trying to get back to shore. If you can cut the edge off, sometimes that makes a difference. Finally, a 5 mil black garbage bag. Multiple purposes. Obviously, you can use it for shelter. Obviously, you can use it as a rain jacket. You can also use it for the times when you go out bass fishing and all of a sudden the crappie are biting and you go, gosh, man, I didn't bring a cooler. Well, you know, I've got my stringer on board. I can string them, but now how am I going to transport them back to the house? I don't want my truck all nasty or car all nasty. Black garbage bag. Comes in handy every time. Keep one in my hunting gear too. Real quick and easy way to transport gear or food product that you've harvested from the wild. Next, in my locker here, this is not waterproof. It is water resistant. It doesn't get very wet in there. It gets more humid than wet. But what I do is I have a small little container in here that's perforated, so if water does get in there, it drains and all that mess. But I keep a towel, nice little hand towel. I also have one on my seat here. Very important piece of gear, binoculars. Got to be able to see in distances when you're out on the water to determine hazards. If you're a nature lover like I am, it lets you see game movement, things like that. Look for fishing spots. Is that a slough or just an indentation in the side of the bank there? That's going to let me see. This is also in there. I pulled it out earlier so I wouldn't have to dig around in it. I keep a substantial amount of rope if I ever need to get towed back. More rope if I ever need to, whatever. You can't have enough rope on a boat. Sunscreen, 30 proof or 30 SPF sunscreen. Never leave home without it. Alcohol, hand sanitizer, great way to clean up. Also can be used to help clean wounds. Not preferred, but it does contain alcohol, which can kill bacteria and things like that. So I definitely keep that. Chilly Willy frog togs, put around your neck, helps cool you down. This is great for hypothermia rescue situations. When you're hypothermic, you're trying to cool your body temperature. I'm sorry, not hypothermic, but when you've overheated your body, when you get sunstroke, sorry, mine's in one place. It's cold out, so I'm not really thinking about how hot it can get out there. But this is really for like those sunstroke situations. You want to cool your body off as quick as you can, get to the shade, and cool your neck area, the arteries that are feeding your brain. And so this is a great additional help to that. Obviously you're in water, so you can get in the water. That will help cool you off as well. But just a really, really great item. Nothing else. It just feels great on your neck when you're out there fishing. It's hotter than snot. Bluetooth radio, because you just got to be happy. You just got to listen to some tunes every once in a while. This is El Cheapo one. It's not waterproof. It's water resistant. I think I spent $6 on it in the checkout lane at Walmart, so if it goes bad, I'll throw it away and just buy another one and stick it in the boat. This I also took out, so I wouldn't have to dig at, but a light source. So the Coast Guard basically requires that you have a sound signaling device and that you have a light source. There are certain conditions where you do have to have flares on board. For the lakes that I fish, the areas that I fish, and the times of day that I fish, I do not need a flare signaling device on board. I do have flares, and if I ever go out in larger water or whatever, of course they will be on board. This should just give you a general idea of some basic safety things. Just remember a couple of points. Number one, always prepare for when things go wrong. Number two, always make sure that you're planning at least 3 steps in advance. Number 3, always wear your PFD and follow a float plan. There's a lot of other rules you can get into. The rule of 120, where basically if the air temperature and the water temperature are below 120 degrees, then you're in the risk of hypothermia if you take a swim. So you got to take those considerations in with your clothing plans and things like that. We may do a video a little later on some of the clothing and material that I wear, my waders and things like that for cold weather fishing. But that's all for today. Guys, stay safe out there. Enjoy the water. Get out there and do something. But please, always come home safe. This is Jeff with Kayak Contemplations. Till next time, have a great one, and we'll see you later.